It all happened overnight. That's all it took. A global market rally, one that was built on just a sliver of hope, completely evaporated and was replaced by sheer panic. Today, we're going to break down exactly how one single speech sent massive shockwaves through the entire world's economy. This is the number that greeted traders when they woke up Thursday morning. A 447-point plunge in Dow Jones Industrial Average futures. A sea of red, basically screaming that Wall Street was bracing for an absolutely brutal day. But honestly, that was only half the story. At the exact same time, this was the price for one single barrel of Brent crude oil. It was surging, up more than 6%. So you have this twin crisis lighting up screens all across the globe. Stocks are plummeting and energy costs are soaring. So what on earth just happened? Well, this chaos wasn't triggered by some complex economic report or a big corporate collapse. No, it was triggered by one single event. A national address delivered on Wednesday night by U.S. President Donald Trump that just completely upended what everyone in the markets was expecting. The moment that speech ended, the reaction was swift and it was unforgiving. U.S. stock futures tumbled right across the board. And it wasn't just the Dow. S&P 500 futures dropped over 1%. NASDAQ futures, which are a good proxy for the tech sector, fell a full 1.5%. The message from the market? It was crystal clear. Fear was back in charge. To really understand this violent reversal, we have to isolate the exact moment the panic started. And believe it or not, it all boils down to one specific, incredibly aggressive statement. That was the line. It was part of a bigger promise that the war with Iran was going to continue and that the U.S. would, quote, hit Tehran extremely hard. Now, for investors who've been banking on a swift end to the conflict, this was the equivalent of a 5-alarm fire. And to truly get how severe this whiplash was, you have to know what the mood was just 24 hours earlier. It was a classic case of climbing a wall of hope, only to get pushed right off the very top. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's night and day. On Wednesday, the Dow actually rallied over 224 points, all fueled by hopes of a ceasefire. By Thursday morning, futures had plunged 447 points. That is a nearly 700-point swing in sentiment, all in just a matter of hours. This timeline just shows you how dizzying the whole thing has been. Wednesday morning starts out with a post from the president on Truth Social that hints at a ceasefire. By the afternoon, Wall Street is celebrating. But then, Wednesday evening, that national address happens, and it completely reverses the optimistic tone. By Thursday morning, that optimism is a distant memory, as markets are just bleeding out. And you gotta understand, this was not just an American story. As the U.S. slept, the financial shockwave from that one speech rolled across the entire globe, hitting Asia first, then Europe, and creating this massive worldwide domino effect. Just look at these numbers. Markets that had actually opened higher, riding on that American optimism from Wednesday, they just reversed course, and sharply. South Korea's Kospi led the losses in Asia, plummeting nearly 4.5%. Japan's Nikkei fell almost 2.4%. And the sell-off just kept on going, right into the European session, where the pan-European Stoxx 600 dropped almost a full percentage point. And if we dig a little deeper, you can see specific sectors getting absolutely hammered. Over in Europe, chip makers and tech stocks were crushed, with the entire sector falling 2.8%. For them, it was shaping up to be the worst single day of trading in almost 2 months. Okay, these are huge, abstract numbers. Dow futures, the Nikkei, Brent crude. But why should you care about any of this in your everyday life? Let's connect the dots, from Wall Street directly to your wallet. This quote here from Sebastian Page at T. Rowe Price, it just perfectly frames the danger. A growth shock isn't just a problem for investors. It's a problem for everyone. It's the risk of a sudden economic slowdown that can lead to job losses and real financial hardship. So the crucial question is, how does this turmoil hit you directly? This right here is the aha moment. The real-world impact is direct, it's tangible, and you are likely going to feel it in at least 3 key areas of your personal finances. First, and this is the most immediate one, is pain at the pump. That surge in oil to over $107 a barrel, that translates directly to higher gasoline prices for your car. Second, your retirement savings. If you have a 401k or any kind of stock market investments, a major downturn like this directly reduces your nest egg. And third, the cost of, well, everything. Energy is a key ingredient in making and shipping almost every single product you buy. When those energy costs spike, it eventually shows up as higher prices at the grocery store. So what's the worst case scenario here? Well, according to some analysts, if this conflict escalates and leads to a prolonged shutdown of the critical Strait of Hormuz shipping lane, we could be looking at $200 a barrel oil. That would take the pain we're seeing now and multiply it significantly across the entire economy. All of this, the political rhetoric, the market whiplash, the threat of an energy crisis, it all leads to this profound sense of uncertainty. It's a stark reminder of how interconnected our world really is and how quickly the entire financial landscape can change. Which leaves us with one final critical question. With this level of volatility, how do you navigate your financial future?